Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. I'm the GM Philosopher, and today we're talking about how to keep track of plot arcs. In a long, complicated, and dramatic D&D campaign, keeping track of all of those opening and closing plot arcs can definitely be a hassle, and in my years of GMing, I have come up with some techniques to do this. I have 4 tips. The first 3 are pretty important and pretty good, but the 4th one is really the game changer, and that's the one that I think might even take the place of the previous 3, which is a method I've been using lately, so I'm going to cover that. Now, I got to give a shout out. This video was requested by Bryon1187. I really thank you for requesting a video. I love it when people request videos, and if you have a request, drop it in the comments, and I will make a video about it, most likely, if it pertains to D&D at all. Here was the question. Do you have a tool to track your plot arcs? That is something I keep losing track of. Bryon, 100%. I am there with you. This can get complicated, and in this video, I'm going to tell you my techniques for doing it. Now, one more thing real quick before we jump into it. I have a big favor to ask you. Please give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. It helps me to do better on YouTube, grow my audience, and hey, I'm here to grow my audience as big as possible, to talk more about D&D to more awesome people. So if you hit that thumbs up button and hit that subscribe button, I really appreciate it. I am racing to 2,000 subs right now. My little channel is just chugging along, so I hope you will help me with that. I really appreciate it. Now let's jump into the tips. Tip number 1, let the players track it or they can drop it. Now, some plot arcs do not necessarily require for the GM to come around and close them. And this is kind of rare, but sometimes it's just a matter to be left up to the players. I'll give you an example. Let's say that there's a rogue and they want to stage a heist. And so they kind of leave the group and they say, I'm going to stake out this jewelry store. Maybe they stake it out for a day. They roll some investigate checks, some perception checks, and they end up taking some notes and returning to the party. And then they get distracted by a bigger quest and never come back to the jewelry heist plot arc. Okay. Now, if nothing happened, that's going to come back on them. If all they did was kind of stake it out and watch, and they didn't really interact with anyone in a meaningful or a way that's otherwise going to cause any blowback, then you might just chalk that up to the rogue started the plot arc and never finished it. There's really nothing to come back with. These are very simple types of arcs, and if this is the case, you don't really have to track it or deal with it. You just let the players do their thing, okay? With that being said, most plot arcs do not fit into this framework. Most of them do have some element of the GM would like to come back around and revisit the plot arc, either from an outside source or because they met someone who they offended, or because someone wants money, or because there's a magical effect that's going to happen, or it's a main storyline and there's going to be stuff coming up. Whatever it is, you might want to reintroduce that plot arc later. So how do you remember it? Okay, let's talk about some tips for that. Tip number 2, use a simple Google Doc to track and edit plot arcs. Now, this is a technique I've been using for years. There was a day when I used to do this in a notebook, but now I have my laptop with me when I game, and so I'll write them down in a Google Doc. If for some reason I don't have my laptop, I'll put it on my phone. But it's just a matter of like writing down the plot arcs and the details about them. It's really not complicated. It's not complex. This is a very simple system that I've used. And to be really honest, what I want to do is I want to kind of write down the context, 1 to 3 sentences, and then I'll write down any relevant names, especially NPC names or anyone who is involved, whether it be PCs or NPCs. And then if there's any magic items involved or artifacts, I'll write those down. And I'll write down just like basically where the plot arc is. Like the last bullet point might be so-and-so talked to so-and-so about the shoe store. They exchanged some gold. The PC is now waiting for information. Okay, so I'll know, oh, they're waiting. Oh, that person hasn't come back around in like 2 sessions. Maybe this session I'll have them come back, right? So it's that simple, very, very simple. Now, tip number 3, use a Google Sheet to track plot arcs by character, NPC, etc. Okay, so this is a newer method I've been using, and I would consider this kind of an upgrade to my former Google Doc method. So a Google Sheet, Google Sheets are free. You can get them as long as you have a web browser. You can open up Google Sheets. You can even do it on your phone, and they have columns and rows, so you can like track data a little better in those. And what I've been doing lately is I'll have rows for each player and each NPC and even each villain. Like every character who's at all meaningful has a row, and I'll put their gear in there. I'll put their plot arc information in there. I'll put their magic items in there. I'll put notes about what's happening in their storyline. I'll put anything I want to remember about that character or that NPC into that Google Sheet. And then I can just look at the whole row and it'll show me everything that's going on with them. Personally, I have preferred this lately to the Google Docs system because with the Google Docs system, I might have to scroll down through a bunch of plot arcs. But with the Google Sheet, I can kind of just go to the player and then go across and see everything that's going on with them. And so I think that that's maybe a superior method. And that's what I prefer to use these days. And that's what I'm doing in my current campaign. I've replaced the Google Docs system with that, and it's working really, really well. Once again, it's not sophisticated, not super fancy, but it works for me. And I think hopefully it'll work for you. With that being said, the real kicker, the real important thing that I have started doing lately that has really, really helped with this is number 4. But quick before we jump into that, I just want to remind you, I created an ebook called the Ultimate Plot Randomizer. It has 4 D100 tables, so you can random roll hooks, conflicts, and conclusions of arcs. If you need a plot arc for a one-shot for a campaign, or even just for the middle of a session because the players have derailed all of your plans and ruined everything, then you can download this, print it out, stick it with your gear, roll a few dice, and you will have an amazing plot arc that your players will never see coming. There's even a wild and wacky table, so you can throw something in there that will really keep them on their toes, leave them thinking to themselves, man, I better not ruin the GM's plans anymore. He's going to roll more wild and wacky plot arcs using this stupid table that he got online. Okay, now with that being said, all you have to do to get this is sign up for my email list. Click the link in the description, sign up for my email list. The first email you get, which will come within seconds, will deliver the download link to this Plot Randomizer ebook. Print it out and keep it. Use it whenever you want. This is my gift to you. And the reason I love this is because I've been using this literally for years, different iterations. I finally put it together in a nice, attractive format. Had a designer do it because I'm not a designer. And I want to share it with you because I use it literally every single session. And I hope that it will inspire you to do something new, maybe make your game a little bit better. And hey, that's the whole point, having a little more fun at the game table. All right. Now, number 4, the best tip by far, utilize an in-game note taker. Okay. Now, in my game, I have a couple different people who perform duties to help me out. And in return, they get an inspiration point every session, and they get every 3 sessions, they get rewarded with a magic item in game. So I have a rules lawyer who basically tracks rules for me and looks up spells and things like that. And I have a note taker. Now, my note taker in my campaign is super awesome. He's actually a writer, legit, and he keeps amazing notes. And he likes to do it, or so he seems to, or at the very least, he appreciates the magic items he gets out of it. But he keeps very meticulous notes for me. And then I can go back, and our whole group shares the Google Doc he keeps notes in. Every session is separated with a header, and then he writes the session notes underneath it. And he tracks literally everything, every interaction between every player, NPC, etc., every combat. He's basically what people find, he's tracking it very meticulously with notes. And this allows me to go back 2, 3, 4 sessions, whatever, and read exactly what went on, and I can remind myself of the plot arcs and what I might want to come back around. And then I'll make myself some notes based on that. Be like, okay, here's what I want to do this session. And generally what I'll do is for each player, I'll bring back one plot arc thing to introduce next session. That's usually the way I do it, is I choose one plot arc thing for each player, and I make sure to bring that back. And so those are my goals as far as plot arcs go for the session. So that's what I do. All right, there you go. There are my 4 tips. Tip number 4, definitely the best one by far. That's the best thing I ever did to keep on top of things going on in my game. I used to try to keep notes myself, but it was just too difficult while running a game to keep meticulous notes. Let me know what you think. What are your ideas? How do you track plot arcs? Drop a comment and let me know. I would love to hear from you, awesome players, what you do in your games. And once again, I just have to say, I really appreciate you coming by and watching my videos. Hit that subscribe button. Watch more videos. I'm here almost every day creating videos about the best game in the world, D&D, for awesome folks like you. So with that being said, I will see you on the next one.